Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM24 Yeti, episode number 9. I have 7 chances. 7 minor races coming up to get that one last victory. The moment that happens, and we spin that wheel, of course, we know it's going to be Liechtenstein, but, you go through the process. The moment that happens, we are done with the minor races. We won't have to ever do another one firsthand. We've just got to get to that point. So it could happen on the 1st, could happen on the 7th. It could happen sometime down the road in the future. We've gotten one of the 2 that we need for the level. So we know it's possible. We know it could happen. And with, 4 sprinters and kind of a 5th guy capable, it could come at any point because the depth of field, the opposition, we are not the favorite, but we are close enough to their level that the right lead out and a good sprint, and especially a good race day condition, could make it happen. Now, today, as a race day condition, as we've got 35K left to go in this one, we've got an exact 0 race day condition. And here's the thing about these 7 races coming. 0 objectives, so no fitness peaks coming. We are expecting neutral race day condition, zeros on a daily basis. That doesn't do us any favors, but it certainly doesn't rule us out. The draw could be all over the place. Today's a 0, but today's actually, I think, an incredible draw for a 0. That because a Domestique in Chembry has a -5. He is offsetting 4 other riders with a positive race day condition equal to a +5. But that little bit of green and a whole bunch of, 2 additional zeros means most of the team right now is looking, quite capable. I've got 6 guys that could and should put in a good performance today. 1 sprinter, anyway, in Walters has a +1 at least, and it's zeros for the other 2. So they're all going to be at least semi-capable today, and we know that Chembry, I got 17K. Okay, I got to start focusing on what's about to happen, but we're going to click that gel button for Chembry to set him up. He'll be the guy getting out front, but as we go, it's all together now. 5 riders off the back, and I think now is a good time to set this up and get us moving. With 3 very similar sprinters, it's hard to kind of decide between them. Race day condition is always going to be a factor. Walters has that +1, and it is just enough of a boost for him as Chembry does not get through the field and we get squeezed here. We're going to have to take to the other side of the road to find some space. That part is going to work. We're going to set up Mahmoud here, but we've got to probably help these other guys get into some clean air. There you go. Okay, down to 9.6. I think we're probably in the 99 territory throughout now, the rest of the way. But I mean, look how slow we are compared to other teams. And that is going to be a problem while we have this very, very limited pool of riders. 7K. Sabbath, take it over. Okay, final 6 kilometers, final gels. Now we have managed to get out front. If we can hold that, we are well set. Skinnier road is a better condition. This is not that, but it's still not looking bad. 4K to go. We're coming up on Williams shortly. I definitely want him to take over at the 3K mark. And he's going to start sprinting at 2.2K. He's doing a little damage to his teammates, but look at this advantage that we've... This might be it right here, folks. This might be it. We're coming up on 1K. Walters, Hopkins, we've opened up a gap, but we've got some fast guys coming, but Walters is going to take the win. We've done it on the first of the 7 instances. We don't need the other 6. Our final Pop 1 Nation, our final minor race victory. We've got a wheel to spin, even if it's an obvious outcome. All right, here we go. It's a wheel spin. Surprise, surprise. It's Liechtenstein. Yeah, I know. Obvious at this point, but beyond this Pop 1 group, the pool gets a little bit larger. There's more groupings, and especially when we get into individual nations, there's going to be a lot bigger sets. But that concludes phase 1. We are done with phase 1. We have added 2 nations that have have better quality riders than what we've been working with so far. Quick check-in with that first phase done. So we, as a Continental team, have access to 2 Pro, 1 Pro, 2-1, 1-1, 2-2, 1-2, 2-2U, and 1-2U races. That is the entire list of races that we have access to. Now, the difference between a 2 and a 1 is stage race versus a one-day classic. So you have Pro, as in like Continental Pro. You have 1, which is higher tier, or 2, which is lower tier, or you have youth only. What we had for the snowballing of adding Monaco and Liechtenstein was about higher training rated nations, but still the lowest popularity. And with those any victories, which we got 1-2 victories in both cases, now that those 2 nations are done, from here on out, we have to get to the POP 2 potential opening nation races, which begin with that higher tier. This is like the lower Continental Pro races versus the higher, or the higher Continental races, kind of however you would call that. The other ones we have access to, the Pro ones, do POP 3. From here on out, while we are in Continental, that's all we have left to bother with. For the POP 2 nations, there's quite a few of them. It would really expand our pool. Those nations also have higher quantity riders, but they're going to be mostly same quality. Most of the POP 2 nations are 2-1 nations. So I have 4 groupings for POP 2. I have Africa, I have the Americas, I have Asia, and I have Europe. So all of the nations grouped within there. Now there's one exception, and that is Guam, which is listed in Oceania. Guam, though, is going to be in the Asia pool for this one. I did not need a separate 5th group just for Guam. The one I would least like to see in a draw is the Americas, as they are all 2-1 nations, and it is the smallest set. The one I would most like to see is Europe. Even though it's a smaller set, there's only 4 nations in the entire POP 2 grouping. There's only 4 nations that have a 2-2 rating. Nothing has better than that in trainings. 4 nations have a 2 for training, and 3 of those 4 are in the Europe group. That would be the one you ideally would want to see come up first, as it should add both a higher quantity and a higher quality of rider available in that snowballing effect. We're at the Volta NXT Classic, and oh great, awesome, Bukenya. I put a guy in the breakaway for a rare change here, as a just in case formality, and he goes and punctures early on in this stage. 7 riders in the break. Looks like we will regain contact with the group, and then I'm going to have Bukenya sit on. Bukenya is one of my higher quality prospects, but current quality is just not there, but he's still better than what we worked with last season. There's a lot of undulation at this race. There you go. We are back in contact, and they're 5.5 minutes ahead now, and Bukenya is only going to sit on. I'm going to disrupt the group more than anything else to set it up for a potential sprint. But with this type of advantage, I'm getting nervous. 160k left to go. That was a long time. This, by the way, is not looking like a much deeper field than what we've been going up against, even for the lower tier races. This is a very similar field. There's a couple guys north of 70 in their ratings, but not by much. And it is going to give us a shot. We're outside of the top 10 favorites, but we've barely been making the top 10 favorites on these lower tier level races. And we are just missing that top 10 list. I'd say we're probably 12th. So we've been, bumped down by 1%. Gap's already down to 4.5 minutes here. The group has split up, and Bukenya has been dropped. Too late now to try to get back in. We will just sit on and come back to the group here with Bukenya +1, with now a smaller group out there. And we will, let's see, who has the best flat rating? None of them? We'll just keep it as it is. The undulation definitely makes me nervous. It's a little bit of a longer stage too, but protecting our sprinters could set us up for, maybe a real shot at getting a 1.1 victory today. Of course, we've already bypassed those last 6 races, and as I've been building out the next phase of the calendar, the April, May section of the calendar, we are... I managed to get into 2 races, a pro race and a 0.1 race, both of them 2 pro and 2-1, so they're both stage races. That'll definitely add some days to the calendar and some opportunities for us to come out and grab a victory. The tempo is high enough with 50 kilometers left here that riders have already been dropped. None of them, there was no puncture, there was no crash. They've just straight up been dropped, lost contact with the group. The undulation is definitely a factor, but the tempo has been high, as we see another split here. And you can see I'm giving 79 effort right now, and we lost some ground pretty quick on that little climb. We're going to have to push even harder to hold our position. It's going to be pretty important here, as splits can and will happen. For now, it's a yo-yo. It's back together, besides those 6 that are off the back. You can see Kenya in particular struggling to keep pace. I'm okay if he ends up getting dropped, though I think individually I should push him a little bit harder. He's going to be one of my early lead-out guys, and we might be without domestiques on the push-up to the finish. Down to 120 temporarily there. The breakaway lost one of its riders. It's down to 4. It's also down to 1.5 minutes, and we're down to 26 kilometers now. Definitely closing up on the end, and we've already reached our high point of the day. We are now starting to decrease in elevation a little more often. It's going to make it a little easier to finish things off, but we are going to definitely put our foot down. But yes, the 3 domestiques are done. Kenya is the last lead-out guy we're going to have. We are not going to be able to make as early of a push on this one, lead-out wise. It's going to have to come on a little bit later. But the 3 sprinters are looking just fine. 12K. Still got to catch those front 4. They have a 40-second advantage. And 10K out. We're going to round this corner here, past this petrol storage unit, and we're down to 3 now. But Kenya has got nothing. Alright, so Hopkins is going to lead this thing out for Williams and Walters. Race day condition, bumping up Williams. He would be the guy. He's got a 70-70 today, but Walters has a 70-71 and better stamina, even though he's only on a +2 instead of the +3. But Hopkins able to bring us forward now, 6K to go. So we can gel up for these last 2 guys. And Hopkins is going to end up riding on yellow bar alone here for a while. He'll end up soft sprinting early for us. There's the breakaway caught. Down to 110. Plenty of fatigue, but what can Hopkins do? It's already just 3.2. He's going to soft sprint. We do not have a very good lead out here. Williams, 2K, getting going, coming from a disadvantaged position, but can we overcome? It's a cobbled finish. It's a cobbled finish, and Williams is outdoing his teammate, but we are not going to outdo the opposition. No win today. I knew that there was I figured it was a gravel sector at some point, but no, it's a cobbled finish right there at the last kilometer, and Williams massively outdid what Walters had. I didn't know that was coming right at the end. It was not visible on the map. 10th place. Okay result. I was hoping for much more today. This was looking like a possible one, but we couldn't get a proper lead out with our domestiques wasted, and even though the 3 sprinters were all fresh, we couldn't get into a good advanced position, and even then that cobble rating was important. Williams was much stronger than Walters in that department, and that's why he ended up finishing the highest. Had I known that was there, I would have let out for him. But at the same time, still don't think it would have made much difference. I don't think he would have finished any higher with having a lead out for him the other way around, as that cobble rating just kind of ruined any chance we had of out sprinting these guys, and especially not having a big lead out. All right, folks, I've got a little bit of a break in my calendar. before we get into our next race. We are to the end of March. Let's check in on the rankings of the team. I'm not going to be doing any more racing today. Today, I am back from my vacation at the time that you're seeing this, but this is the last episode that I have recorded ahead of time before going on that vacation. So beginning with what you're seeing tomorrow, we'll be back to new content post-vacation. I'm still strapped for time right now. I'm heading out actually tonight on that vacation. So this is the last of the work that I've got to do there. But anyway, we are looking at 38th in the team rankings with 340 points. And still just 150 of those have come via national championships, as it's only March. And the current team have more of a standard or later in the year national championship. We are Hopkins leading the way with 210, and 150 of those are last year's national championship. So far this season, he has picked up 60 points. All this year. Red Walters, and all of his points have come, well, not all of them. He did get 42 points a year ago. Yeah, that's a mix of this year, last year, but we're looking at 60 points from this year for him. So they are leading the way with that. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm happy that we got phase 1 done and that snowball rolling. Phase 2 is where things are going to really pick up, though. Difficult, though. More difficult than what we had for phase 1. But if we have more races like the one we just had, that 1.1 race, like I said, it was only about 1% more difficult than the others, at least in terms of the opposition, in terms of the field. So it's only a matter of time. We will get those phase 2 victories off and going here, and hopefully before the transfer window opens, so that some of those 2-1 nations are in that pool, because it's immediate. It is immediate. So, for example, we have Monaco and Liechtenstein now available to sign riders. If we can get any of those, even just one of them, it's going to open things up for us quite a bit more. If you add 8 popularity 2 nations, even if they're only training 1, they're going to have a wider selection of riders, and that could feed into some changes for the coming season. That's going to do it for this one, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.